coming to you live from Tennessee, from the east to the west. We are talking Cowboys everything. And you just entered
the Cowboy Zone.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cowboy Zone. I'm Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And thank you guys for joining us again for another episode of the Cowboy Zone. I don't have my co-host Lambo here with me tonight, but we're going to keep it rolling. Hopefully he'll be able to join us at some point, but until then, it's just me and you guys. This is our therapy session for the week, so we're going to talk about last week's game against the Cardinals. Try to work out everything that we have left over from that game, and then look ahead to next week's game against the New England Patriots. So I see the views are going up pretty quickly. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. For you guys who are new joining us, this is an interactive show, so we are fueled by the fan base. We appreciate all your questions, all your comments, anything that you can provide in terms of Cowboys content. So we'll start things off first. Let's see. We got a couple of them. See, we got my guy Jeff. Joining us. What's going on? I see we got a pregame sweat. Eric, thank you. Eric, I have to talk about the Cardinals game. I can't just glance over it. I gotta at least touch base on it a little bit before we move on. I see we got Grandires of 12 joining us. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. See, I got one of my classmates, Raphael, joining us. Thank you for tuning in. Also, always appreciate your support and your comments. So, guys, we're going to get right into it. Got a lot to talk about the New England Patriots. But before we do that, we have to recap last week's game. And I see we got Charlie joining us. Thank you for joining, Charlie. We got to recap last week's game against the Arizona Cardinals. I got to talk about, I tried to warn you guys last week. I told you this was a good offense. Offense is better than most people expect. Pretty much everything I said with the Cardinals offense happened. They just scored a lot more points than I thought they would. We still couldn't stop the off-tackle runs. They still couldn't get James Conner on the ground. I tried to warn you guys about them putting wide receivers in the backfield to take advantage of those mismatches. I mean, everything I'm saying is pretty much leading up to that, Jeff, but I'm not going to say that. But you guys know what it is. And then I told you guys about the stars being the stars. We had Deron Bland in his first game as an outside corner. Had Deron Bland first game outside corner, and they still played man-to-man. Hollywood Brown got him a couple times. And then Stephon Gilmore got a little bit of that work also. So we got a lot to work out. And then on top of that, the unexpected news that we got, our starting right guard, center, and left tackle, even though the left tackle stood on the sideline with a stupid look on his face, were all out of the game last minute, and they were replaced by two players making their first NFL start, and a guy who's played almost exclusively at guard was put at tackle. So we had a lot to overcome on the offensive side of the ball. Before we do that, I always feel it's best to go back through the over-unders for last week to kind of see how things played out and what we expected. So let's do this quick game recap, go through our over-unders from last week, and then we'll move forward to New England.
Game recap.
All right, Jeff, I don't know if you noticed, but I left it on the screen an extra long time for a reason. I'm gonna take it off now. Raphael says, can someone teach Micah to focus on the quarterback when they run RPO? You know what? That's something I didn't really pay attention to when I watched the game. A lot of those weren't Micah's fault. Let me just put this back on the screen again. A lot of those weren't Micah's fault. And then I move on to the next comment. All right, Jeff coming back and saying we definitely played down to the competition. You know what? I agree we played down to the competition, but also to add on to that, certain teams just don't match up well with other teams. And I feel like over the past 15 years, I can think of several situations where we were supposed to be better than the Cardinals and they beat us. Maybe the Cardinals are just that one team that we can't get over the hump with, regardless of what talent is on the field. Riker says 2 years ago tonight, the Cowboys beat the hell out of the Eagles at home. After the game, I walked in the Waffle House, and that's when Charlie fell in love. So congratulations on your 2-year anniversary then, Riker and Charlie. Too bad you had to celebrate the week that the Cowboys lost in the upset. Keystone, my guy Keystone, thank you for joining as always. Kazir White was their best cover guy. Dak should have known, knowing he played him twice last year. Definitely agree with that. We definitely saw some bad Dak come out in that game. And a lot of it was unforced because he went back to his usual scramble back into the right when a lot of times he should have been able to step up in the pocket or not exit the pocket as quickly as he did. Grinders 12 says 3 Cowboy players stock up, stock down. You know what? That could be a whole show in itself, Grandizer. If you got your stock up, stock down guys in mind, put them in the comments and I'll read them. Eric saying 55 is a liability, 100%. He said they had Micah like a defensive tackle. Yeah, they tried to move him around to get the best matchup for him. It just wasn't happening. Combination of not being able to stop the run, along with having a quarterback that I tried to warn you guys about. The guy's pocket presence is off the charts. He doesn't get the respect he deserves in terms of being an NFL quarterback. But when it comes to mobility and the ability to read running lanes, there are very few in the league that are better than Joshua Dobbs. He hasn't put everything together yet, hasn't had the opportunity, but he's definitely above average NFL quarterback who's consistently growing. I apologize, Charlie. I shouldn't have read it. Terry, my guy Terry Rudd, Niners fan. Look forward to you coming back to join us in 2 weeks. But you say a mobile quarterback destroys their defense. You know what? I would agree with you to an extent, but to give full context, talking about that game in particular, they killed us in the run game early. And because of that, it changed the way our defensive line normally is structured. So because they had such success with the running game, we had to spend a lot more time with Jonathan Hankins on the field as a defender. And when Jonathan Hankins is inside as a defender, that pretty much eliminates your inside pass rush because Osa isn't able to do the stunts that he was able to do with Golston and Dorrance Armstrong when they come inside. And then on top of that, you're kind of able to scheme against Osa because you know Jonathan Hankins can't give up much of a pass rush. So a combination of the running game, changing our defensive line, as well as the mobile quarterback were definitely hindrances to our defensive scheme as we normally run it. Jeff saying the last throw was basically in triple coverage. Yeah, it was a bad throw, plain and simple. It didn't lose us the game, like some fans want to say, but it was definitely a horrible throw. I know Dak was trying to make something happen, but there was no excuse for making that bad throw. Yep, that back foot ain't good for Dak on the throw, definitely. Raphael saying, please insert one-way Thomas, and I add, or Marquise Bell. Add either one of them in the lineup next week. We'll talk about this week's game and kind of what I see and how I think those guys will definitely be effective. But last week they would have come in very, very helpful because the Cardinals consistently put a wide receiver in the backfield and ran them on like an out bubble screen, and our linebackers were just too slow to catch them, and they kept getting easy 6-7 yard first down passes that gave them gave them very favorable second downs. Terry Rudd saying Cooks is not a slot wide receiver. Lamb should be in the slot, especially in the red zone. Well, I think, and I don't know for sure, Lamb is normally in the slot. I think when you saw Lamb on the outside in the red zone, that was them just trying something. Because if you remember, earlier in the game, Brandon Cooks was on the outside, and Dak did throw a ball to him that he caught, but he was out of bounds. So I'm not 100% certain, but my guess would be they felt like Lamb was a better one-on-one ball catcher in the red zone. But as you can see, Lamb completely gave up on the play trying to get the flag. So was it really helpful to put Lamb on the outside in that position? Yep, that big Joshua Dobbs run definitely set the momentum for him. Really, all those runs in the first quarter really threw a monkey wrench in the game. And Charlie, 100% agree. That's why you don't pay One Text big money, and that's why you don't draft them high. Definitely, they only provide you with one aspect of the game, and like we saw last week, putting them in on anything other than obvious rundowns is a detriment to the defensive line. Jeff saying that throw had to be a fade, either touchdown, wide receiver, lands out of bounds. I agree with that one too. And boy, you guys are coming with the comments quick tonight. Keep them coming. I enjoy this. One-way Thomas getting 0 snaps. Bell only getting 9, I believe. Parsons going after sacks and getting out of gaps, and they ran right at it. Those are the things I didn't like. I 100% agree. I also feel like if they did get snaps, they should have got them in Leighton Vander Esch's spot, because the week before against the Jets, One-Way Thomas and Marquise Bell played, and they played exclusively in Damone Clark's spot. So that's kind of a weird thing I brought up 2 weeks ago. Even weirder this week, so we have to pay attention to what happens with the Patriots. And Riker, thank you. Appreciate the support. Make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the show, you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, Bluff City Cowboys, and also make sure you share this video to your favorite Facebook group so that the rest of the fan base can join in and get some of this great content that you guys are giving out tonight. Jeff wants to talk about the elephant in the room. We have no run stopping middle linebacker. Again, I can go back to your very first comment that you made, talk about that. And when we talk about the Patriots, that's really gonna show itself this week, because they're gonna run right at him. And I agree, Charlie. I talked about this week 1. Certain players have certain attributes you can't teach. And Marquise Bell has that attribute of being able to read running lanes and get guys on the ground, whether it's an ankle tackle, a big hit, a wrap-up tackle. He has that ability, and you have to take advantage of it. Terry Rudd saying, McCarthy, please utilize a fullback inside the 5, especially with multiple starting offensive linemen out. I can't agree with that more. Mike McCarthy came out this week and said he understands the mistakes they made. They're going to go back to the drawing board this week. So hopefully we see those improvements this week, and we see more of Hunter Luepke in the game in the red zone. To even if it's not blocking, he's great out of the backfield catching. So you can maybe catch them off guard with him as another pass catcher to get some easy throws for Dak that the defense won't be expecting. All right, let me go through these really quick before we move on to this week's game. So the next one we talked about was James Conner. Of course, he smashed that one. I think we all said over last week during the last week's show. So we were all kind of on this one. And then we also had Joshua Dobbs, 200 passing yards. He didn't get to 200, but he didn't have to, because the team had 200 yards rushing. But he was at 189 passing yards, and he was 17, 35. He had almost 80% passing. and a 120 passer rating, which is, I believe, I don't think it's perfect, but it's very close to perfect. So he didn't get 200 passing yards, but he had a great game that really hurt us. The next over under, talking about the receivers, I got to give Michael Gallup credit. The offense was sputtering. He really stepped up this week, made a lot of key plays for us, ended up with 92 yards on 6 receptions. So hopefully he takes that confidence and takes it into this week's matchups against the New England Patriots. Once we talk about that, we'll talk about there are some opportunities for Michael Gallup to make some big plays this week because of the matchups that he'll face with this secondary. And then the last one, I talked about this one a lot. Over under 75 yards rushing for Tony Pollard. Thanks, Charlie. You said perfect is 156 or something like that. Yeah. And even with the depleted offensive line, Tony Pollard had 120 yards rushing and averaged 5 yards a carry. Like I said before last week, they had some weaknesses in their front seven when it comes to running. I know Charlie will hate to hear me say this, but I feel like they should have ran the ball more to keep the ball moving, because he was getting 5 yards a carry. And sometimes you just got to read the room. And if something's working and something's not, you got to keep going back to the well as much as possible. I feel like you guys are saying in the comments, Rico needs more touches also. I mean, Rico came in and averaged 5 yards a carry too on limited carries. So the opportunities were there for this team to run the ball in that game. So hopefully we continue to build on that and take advantage of it in future weeks. And Riker saying, I don't like Dobbs' eyes. I think he might be a sociopath. You know what, Riker? Dobbs suffers from alopecia. So I think it's because he doesn't have any hair on his face that makes his eyes kind of stand out like that. Keystone saying, Mike, you abandoned the run. You're definitely Kellen McCarthy. In this game, I'll agree with you. He definitely went Kellen Moore on us. And Charlie saying they read the room in the red zone and got us to 3rd and 6 in obvious passing situations. I'm not talking about the red zone, Charlie. I mean the entire game. I understand in the red zone that they had some problems, but I mean the passing game wasn't that much better either. I mean, I watched that game 3 times. And on top of us not being able to stop the run, the bad throws that were made from Dak, and the penalties, I don't see any way we could have won that game. It was just too much going against us this week. I don't want to take anything from the Cardinals because the game plan was obvious. They ran it to perfection and we couldn't stop it. But at the end of the day, they just outplayed us, plain and simple. All right, so guys got the comments still coming. Riker saying the running wasn't my problem. It was the predictability of the way they were doing it, especially in the red zone. I definitely agree with that. It was very predictable. But between the 20s, I mean, we were getting them pretty much whenever we wanted to get a run. And I feel like they should have stuck with that in the between the 20s. And then once we got in the red zone, take advantage of those matchups, because they were running a very heavy zone. And if Dak would have just stayed in the pocket a little bit more instead of bailing, there were things that opened up for him if you watched the all 22. Okay, that's all I got for the Arizona Cardinals. We're at 20 minutes. We're still going to get out of here close to an hour. Got a lot to talk about with the New England Patriots. Got a lot of over-unders. Got a lot of key matchups in this game. I made a Facebook post earlier just talking about the problems we saw in the Cardinals game we won't have this week. I think a lot of people misconstrued what I said and made it sound like I said this is going to be an easy victory. That was not the case. That's not what I meant by what I put out there. But this team has a lot of problems that we have to face also, but they're going to be different than what we face with the Cardinals. And I feel like this week, some of the strengths that they have match up better with our strengths. So it should be a very competitive game. So let's get into it first, and let's talk about some of the storylines going into this week's matchup.
Storylines.
All right. The first storyline, Zeke comes back home. I know I don't have to say this to the fan base, but you guys know Zeke got cut in the offseason, and he was picked up by the New England Patriots. He's been there with them the whole season, and last week he led the team in rushing. So it looks like his his contributions to the team are starting to increase. And I know you guys feel the same way I do about when an old player comes back to play his old team for the first time. His new team normally tries to give him that boost and give him some extra carries and try to make him look as best he can to get that payback. So I believe Jerry Jones came out and said he's gonna do some type of tribute to Zeke before the game. Personally, I don't understand why we're doing a tribute to him unless he's retiring, but that's another segment in itself. I expect him to get a lot of carries. It's going to be an interesting dynamic to see, especially dealing with a guy like Zeke, because I don't know if the guys are going to come at him harder because he's coming back, or is Zeke, knowing some of the weakness we have, particularly at linebacker, is he gonna really go back to not even 2016 Zeke, 2019 Zeke, and try to do the hurdles and run guys over and stuff like that. So it's gonna be an interesting dynamic to see Zeke back home, because they're gonna try to feed him as much as possible in this week's game. And Terry Rudd says Zeke and their power run game would be tough to stop. We're going to talk about that in a minute, Terry, so be sure to stick with us. Jeff saying if Connor did that to us, I'm scared of what Zeke would do. I say this, though, Jeff. Connor is a different type of running back. Connor is way more explosive than Stevenson and Zeke. And I just save it for when we get to over-unders and when I talk more about the running back position for the New England Patriots. And Jack Meeker, thank you for joining us as always, saying our guys can instinctively shut Zeke down. I'm expecting him to try to jump over somebody this week, so that's going to be funny to see how that plays out. Because I'm hoping Donovan Wilson catches him in the air. I'm begging for it to happen. Riker says I don't think he can beat 2019 Zeke again. What he wants to do is different from what he can do. Definitely agree with that one. And Charlie saying Connor over Zeke 100%. Neither one of those guys compared to the explosiveness that James Conner possesses. All right, let's go to the next storyline, and then we'll keep the show going. This storyline has been kind of pushed around for the past week, and talking about the New England Patriots signing Will Grier to their practice squad. So, as you guys know, there's a rule in place. It doesn't really affect Will Grier because he was cut in the offseason, but teams typically can't sign a player from another team within like 2 weeks before they play. It doesn't apply to Will Grier, but the reason for that is because you don't want to have a guy on your practice squad and then a team kind of pick them up to get some trade secrets. It gives the team that he came from time to change stuff around in case a team like the Patriots does pick him up. So let me know in the comments if you guys think it's concerning that the New England Patriots picked up Will Grier and that he may give out some trade secrets. I know throughout the week, a lot of people were saying Zeke and Will Grier. To me, that was just media baiting, taking advantage of a big name. Zeke doesn't provide anything to the Patriots in terms of our game plan. He wasn't here during the offseason. The game plan has changed. I would assume that they changed signals based off of the change in the offensive coordinator and the philosophy, but you never know. And Jeff saying Spygate 2.0 and Terry Rudd saying that dang Belichick. Now, I am concerned about Will Grier because Will Grier is a quarterback. Will Grier is a very smart quarterback, and Will Grier was here throughout our entire offseason. And the season is early enough to where we probably haven't changed much from the last install that he saw. So I saw that they're saying the team will have to change their signals and stuff like that. They definitely have to do that this week because the one position opposing coach can get all the information he wants from is the quarterback, because quarterbacks usually know what everybody does on the offensive side of the ball. And being that he was the third string quarterback, he saw our defense up close and personal, so he knows a lot about what they like to do schematically as well. So yeah, on top of that, Mike McCarthy does not cover his mouth up when he calls plays. So I'm sure that's going to come up in the broadcast again this week. And hopefully after the game, if he doesn't do it, something doesn't come out about Belichick using that to his advantage also. And Riker saying I wouldn't be concerned if it was anyone but New England because Billy likes to cheat. Charlie saying pass play call is behind the line of scrimmage 5 yards down the field and causing Dak over 5.1 ADOT is my concern. Is pathetic. Yeah, that's definitely a concern to have. The ball's not going down the field a lot, and my guy Mendoza hasn't joined us yet, I don't think, but he brought up an interesting point in one of our chats. He was here early. I don't know if he's still here, but he brought up the point that all the Patriots receivers average close to 9 yards a catch. Now, a lot of that is fool's gold because they run a lot of comebacks, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, we should definitely have a larger ADOT than that, and a lot of that has to do with the very quick passes that we do behind the line of scrimmage. Jack Meeker says I'm not worried about that. We need to be healthier going into the game. Great segue, Jack Meeker, because I believe I have one more. I don't have my screen with me, but I do have one more storyline this week, and that storyline is related to our offensive line. So as you guys know, our guard, our center, and our tackle were all pretty much pulled out of the game last minute last week. There's not a lot of details coming out of Dallas this week. I mean, today is Wednesday, and it sounds like Zach Martin is still kind of practicing on the side. So there's not a lot of progress being made. On top of that, the Cowboys today picked up center / guard, mainly center, Billy Price, former first-round pick, former Cincinnati Bengal, New York Giant. So he's on our practice squad now. More than likely, he's going to be brought up to the active roster on game day. So the fact that they signed him makes me a little bit more concerned about where we are with that center guard position. I'm almost expecting Tyler Biadasz not to play, but hopefully Zach Martin can pull it up. And then Tyron Smith did dress, even though he played like 1 or 2 snaps. Hopefully that will be a progression from last week to this week, and he'll be able to play a full game. And Charlie and Riker going back and forth in the comments. Pre-game sweat, yeah, comebacks and crossers. They run a ton of comebacks. That's like their bread and butter. If it's 3rd and 7, you best believe they're running 8-yard comebacks. One of those things we have to look out for this week. Charlie saying it ranks 33rd. The only one lower is Richardson from Indy. That's not a good list to be on. Jack Meeker saying CD took a vet day off. I mean, he should. The way he's been playing so far this year, he's been pretty much outperforming what most fans would expect for him to do going back to his first 3 weeks. All right, we're at the 30-minute mark, so we're halfway there. Let's go ahead and move the show along once again before we go forward. Thank you guys for joining tonight. Appreciate all the great comments and questions you guys are leaving. You're definitely giving a lot of great thoughts for the other people who are watching who aren't leaving comments. But if you are watching, you haven't left a comment yet, If you don't want to leave a question or a comment, at least get in the comments and let me know that you're there and say hi. So let's move forward with the show and let's go into some of our key matchups in this week's game.
Key matchups.
Okay, so we've talked about this one a little bit. Of course, this is the biggest key matchup of the week, and that is Bill Belichick, arguably the best coach of all time. He will push every line that he can to win a game, as you guys know, and he is a defensive mastermind. Going against Mike McCarthy, offensive-minded coach, dealing with a lot of injuries and still relatively new to play calling for this team. The back and forth between them is going to be interesting. And if you guys know Bill Belichick, his bread and butter is pretty much taking quarterbacks out of their game. That one's even more concerning than the play calling, to see what he does to take Dak out of his game this week. In my opinion, from watching the Patriots play, Terry said this game will be decided in the trenches. I would say indirectly, because the Patriots front seven is so good. I think we have to pass it to win. Like, we talk about this. Last week I said they should have run it more. This week, I think the game plan is going to dictate we have to pass the ball, because their front seven is legit, especially if one or two or three of our offensive linemen are out. So this key matchup is definitely going to be one to watch, to kind of watch the chess match that Bill Belichick has against Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. All right, let's go into a couple other of these key matchups. Again, there are a lot of great matchups in this game to pay attention to as the game progresses. Another one we got to talk about, and Terry Rudd giving me the great segue into the trenches. Don't worry, Rudd, I see your comments, because a lot of my key matchups are related to the trenches. The first one we got to talk about, left tackle Trent Brown versus Micah Parsons. Trent Brown was rated as the number one offensive lineman by PFF last week, and this week he gets a heavy dose of Micah Parsons. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch against the edges. Trent Brown is a solid veteran offensive tackle. I think he benefited more from the scheme, getting the ball out quick, than he did from his actual talent. So it's definitely going to be a great matchup to watch him versus Micah Parsons, to see if Micah Parsons can get some of those 2-second pass rushes that he's gotten in games past. All right, let's go to another key matchup, and we're going to go outside the numbers a little bit on this one. And this one is the Patriots safety core against Jake Ferguson and Michael Gallup. I focused on these players particularly because if you watch the Patriots play defensively, they run their defense a lot like we run our defense. They run a very heavy 3 safety set. Their 3 safeties, of course, the Green Goblin, the NFL Green Goblin, Jalen Mills, former Philadelphia Eagles. The fan base is very familiar with him. We also got Jabril Peppers, a former first-round pick for the Cleveland Browns, a guy that we all love coming out of college. And then they have Kyle Duggar, another very talented first-round safety. So they love playing 3 safety sets. Unlike us, where we use our third safety as a linebacker, the Patriots use their third safety as a corner. So they will shift Jalen Mills inside on the slot. If you have a big receiver, kind of like we have what you would consider Michael Gallup a big receiver, they'll throw Jabril Peppers and just let him rough a big receiver up during the game. They also throw him against tight ends, and they use Kyle Duggar a lot in the tight end position. So you're going to see a lot of different looks from their safety group. Sometimes they have their safeties all playing deep. Sometimes they'll give you a cover one look where they have one safety covering the tight end, one safety covering man against the wide receiver. So far, nobody's beating them on that yet, surprisingly, but you might see that. And then you'll see them go to a cover 3 look, cover 2 look, where that safety will bail out at the last minute and they'll go into that cover 2 shell. So there's going to be a lot of chess matches between their safeties and what I would consider our big receiver in Michael Gallup. And then you got Jake Ferguson at tight end. And Mendoza saying this is a matchup that's mutual, our safeties versus their tight ends as well. You're looking ahead, Mendoza. I definitely got that one in my key matchups also. Like I said, a lot of great matchups in this game. Jack Meeker saying time to see Jake the Snake go ham. This is definitely the game that he should have a big game because they're going to give him a lot of one-on-one opportunities with their safeties. All right, let's keep it going. You guys leaving great comments. I wanted to skip over this one, but I guess I'll go ahead and go to it. And that is our linebackers versus their running backs. Now, when I watch the Patriots play, and this is one of the reasons I said we won't have the same problems we had against the Cardinals. The Cardinals love to run off tackle. James Conner's a great off tackle runner. They'll put a running back in the backfield, as you guys can see from last week's game, and they'll let him run off tackle. LVE just isn't fast enough to beat running backs to that off tackle spot. And Damone Clark, even though he's been a great player, he's all over the field, he still has a problem with over pursuing running lanes on the outside. So the combination of those things with those linebackers made last week a recipe for disaster. Now, Keystone, that's a good point. Now I'll come back to that one in a minute also. They do throw Jabril at the corner position because he is one of their best corner guys. But we'll talk about another key matchup in a minute. And I want to get your thoughts on this because I'm sure you probably watched them as much or more than I have. So back to our linebacker talk. So the running backs for the Patriots, they run almost exclusively B gap and under. So that means they're going to run inside the guard box. So the off tackle runs are going to be few and far between this week. Now, the problem with that is when they run inside the guard box, of course, we all know LV's terrible taking on blockers, but they also love to run draw plays. Draw plays are their bread and butter, and we're going to see a lot of those this week. I know Jeff wants to see more draws from us. You're probably going to get your feel of draw plays this week, Jeff, but it won't be coming from our side of the field. So there are going to be some opportunities for our linebackers to get a lot of tackles in the backfield, as well as our defensive linemen. And Terry, exactly. They're great at getting to the second level, and that's why those draw plays are always so successful because they make those initial blocks, and by the time the ball is handed off, one of their guards is already on the linebacker leading the path for the running back. So definitely got to stop that. Keystone saying Devin is faster than LVE. Stop hoarding these players and let them play. I mean, honestly, I don't know if we'll ever see Devin, the backup linebacker. I would like to see Bell this game. I know the Patriots have some very big tell them I appreciate the birthday gift, Jeff. Shouts out to Kendall and Mason. But yeah, the Patriots have some very big running backs. And I know there may be some concerns because Marquise Bell is only like 200 pounds. But this week, I feel like this has to be a game we see more of a guy like Marquise Bell because he's just great at getting guys on the ground. And Raphael saying this is the game you run a 5-2 defense. I mean, I wouldn't be hurt by seeing a 5-2 defense because their wide receivers do not scare me whatsoever. And we definitely have the mismatch at that position going against Juju Smith-Schuster and Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker. I mean, those are all names we know because they came from other places and had some success. But playing with the Patriots, none of those guys have really stepped up. All right, guys, let's go. We got a couple of more key matchups, and then we'll get into some of these over-unders for this week. I got to talk about this one because this one is going to be the most scary matchup that we have, even more scary than the coaches matchup. And this is when going back to what my guy Rudd said earlier, talking about slow down Judon. I got Judon versus Chuma Edoga, but as you guys can see in the background, I got Tyron Smith kind of faded in. I don't know if Tyron's going to play. If Tyron's going to play, I'm concerned about the matchup. If it's Edoga from what we saw last week, I'm terrified. Matt Judon is a veteran defensive end. I think he's 32 years old. But that guy gets after the quarterback just as good as any pass rusher in the league when given the opportunity. They find ways to get him one-on-one matchups. So we definitely have to be aware of where he's at all times. And we got to make sure that we send some help if it's Edoga as much as possible, because we don't want to see that one-on-one matchup happen, because that one could be scary. All right, guys, I got a couple of more key matchups to go through, and then we'll go to the over-unders and get out of here. We have 43 minutes. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for the comments. Yeah, he's Von Millerish, definitely. Yeah, their pass block is ranked trash. Good point. Yeah, I don't know if he's playing or not, Mendoza, so I couldn't put him up there. And Jeff, great point. Gilmore was a former Patriot corner. Also, Brandon Cooks was a former Patriot receiver. We'll get to that one in the over-unders as well. And, I mean, I agree with you guys right here. Yeah, Brandon Cooks versus Jalen Mills. That's going to be a good matchup. And also, Dak will get happy feet if Edoga's at left tackle. Dak will get killed if Edoga's at left tackle with Judon. And Riker saying Edoga should play left guard and Tyler Smith should be outside. 100% agree with that. I heard a couple of people say that the team didn't want to put Tyler Smith in his first game at left tackle because they plan on him being guard all year, so they didn't want to mess up his rhythm. I mean, I'd rather see Sim Richards out there left tackle than Edoga again. Let Edoga play guard. Either put Tyler Smith out there. We gotta improve that spot if Tyron Smith isn't playing. All right, guys, I got a couple of key matchups to talk about, and you guys have been alluding to it all night. Somebody brought up the comment about Lamb, and the reason I didn't put Lamb in there with the safeties, because there are reports coming out, and Keystone, Mendoza, I know you guys are my draft guys, so let me know your thoughts about this guy. Christian Gonzalez, a guy that was very highly touted coming out of college. People were surprised that he fell as far as he did in the draft. First round cornerback. Reports out of New England are saying he's going to follow CeeDee Lamb this week. The past 2 weeks, he's been kind of playing outside. The reports are saying he's going to follow. And I saw some stats from PFF talking about his play against Tyreek Hill and Wilson from the Jets. I don't think either one of them had more than 40 yards. Neither one of them had a touchdown against him. So they're kind of saying that he's starting off the year hot. and he's getting another another test against CeeDee Lamb, and people are saying he's going to do the same thing he's been doing. So I'm interested to see this one because I have not seen him play inside, and we all know CeeDee Lamb is exclusively a inside wide receiver in the slot. Mendoza saying he's from Texas, and Keystone saying he's sticky as hell on the cover. I mean, he's 6'2", 4.3 speed. He's got all the traits. People were trying to compare him to Sauce Gardner from what I saw coming out of college. Last year was one of those years I didn't get to follow college as much as I wanted. So this guy kind of slipped through the cracks on me, so I don't know a lot about him. But I'm just going by what I've read. So yeah, that should be a great matchup to watch. The rookie versus CeeDee Lamb, who's starting off red hot right now. And Charlie saying didn't want to put him there in his first game back. Didn't stop them from putting him there his first game ever last year after taking 0 snaps. Good point. That's a great point. Of course, that's all speculation coming out of Dallas. That they didn't want to put him there in his first game back, but you never know what the real reasons are. Keystone saying they're saying Gonzalez is banged up, so definitely something to watch this week, guys. And also, be sure to join us for our pregame show this Sunday, 11:15 Central. If he is hurt, we will go over the injury report, and I keep you guys up to date with his status for Sunday's game. Raphael saying I think CD will have a good game against Gonzalez. Personally, I think he has to because we're not running against this team. I just don't see it. The Patriots have one of those teams where everybody in the front seven is 250 and up. I mean, the outside linebackers are 250. The inside linebackers are 250. All their defensive linemen are 310 and up. They have a very big front seven, and these guys are all extremely athletic for their size. So maybe Tony Pollard can break through the first level and get some green grass in the open field. But I think our offensive line is going to have a very tough time guarding these guys in the front seven and making holes for Pollard. Terry saying nobody can hold CD one-on-one. I'm just going by the reports I've been seeing. They say Gonzalez has been that guy so far this year. So we're going to find out very early in this game. All right, guys, I got one more key matchup I got to talk about. And Mendoza alluded to this one before. We talked about their safeties versus our safeties. We got to talk about J-Ron Curse versus Hunter Henry. Now, I could put all their tight ends up here because the Patriots run a lot of 13 personnel. And for you guys that aren't familiar with that means, that's one running back, 3 tight ends. It could be because they have some very athletic tight ends with, I believe they have Jonnu Smith still. I think they have Jonnu Smith. I know they have Hunter Henry. I know they have Mike Gesicki, 2 extremely athletic tight ends. And then they have a third tight end. The name escapes me. I'm sure one of you guys will help me out in the comments with the third one's name. But yeah, they have some very athletic tight ends. We're going to see a lot of 13 personnel, I think. And J-Ron Curse is going to probably be tasked with guarding Hunter Henry. He's been their leading target getter for the past 2 weeks. So he's definitely going to get some tests there. And surprisingly, from what I saw, they send their tight ends deep more than their receivers. Pharaoh Brown. Thank you, Keystone. I appreciate it. And Mendoza right behind them. I always know if there's a name I can't remember, it's either going to be one of you guys that's going to help me out. So I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, watching the tape, it's surprising that the Patriots will send their tight ends on 15, 20-yard routes, but not their receivers. So their receivers run a lot of comebacks, a lot of pick routes, like Keystone pointed out. They run a lot of outs, 5-yard in, stuff like that. They keep the receivers compact, and then you'll see their tight ends running 20-yard corner routes. So J-Ron Curse, unfortunately, probably won't be in the inside the trenches as much as we would like for him to be, considering how big their running backs are. but this will definitely be a good game to watch with a lot of matchups. And Keystone pointed out Josh Uche, one of their outside linebackers slash pass rushers. Another one of the talented 250-pound guys they have in their front seven, which make them so stout up front. All right, guys, we're at 51 minutes. We're almost done. We got a couple of over-unders to go through. I see the views are still going up. So for you guys who are joining us, thank you for tuning into the Cowboy Zone. We try to keep the show at 1 hour. So if you just joined us, get in those comments, give us your questions, give us your comments for the next 15 minutes or so. You guys fuel the show. And you came at the right time if you just joined us, because this is the segment of the show where we really want to get you guys feedback. It's a segment we like to call Over Under. And what I do in this segment is I will give you guys some statistics and you tell me whether or not the team will go over or under on that statistic. And Keystone saying stack the box. Pete, my post markers on max pass chart. I have to go back and look at that. I'm pretty sure you said pretty much the same thing I saw on the passing chart and how he throws the ball. This is one of those games, again, what I talked about earlier in the show. We can go man to man against this team because they do not ask a lot of their receivers. And our corners are all big and physical, and they all have great ball skills. Regardless of what you saw last week from Bland has great ball skills. And these guys are going to be all over these receivers and be able to get their hands on the ball and get some deflections. So this is going to be a very interesting game between our corners and their receivers. Personally, I don't think our receivers are going to do a lot, and we'll get into that with our over-under. So I keep alluding to it. Let's go ahead and jump into it and get some of these over-unders for this week's matchup.
Over-under.
All right. So first over-under of the night. Keystone saying Kendrick Bourne almost beat us. Are you talking about with when he was with the Niners, he almost beat us? I believe you're talking about the Niners. But speaking of that, this is Kendrick Bourne on the screen right here with Hunter Henry. Kendrick Bourne is actually their best receiver, considering Juju Smith-Schuster is a former second-round pick and was the most recent star of a team. And Devontae Parker was a first-round pick who hasn't lived up to the hype. All right. Over under 75 yards, any Patriots receiver or tight end. Now, I see we got Mendoza and Charlie coming with the very quick overs. Let me know who you think the over guy is. I'm curious to see what you guys' thoughts are. Jeff saying under, but maybe give a long one to Kendrick Bourne. I'm almost certain that's kind of the direction everybody's going to go in, Jeff. Terry saying Bourne is the one to stop. Parker's the possession guy. 100% right. Bourne is that quote unquote deep threat, even though he rarely goes deep. At least this year he has it. Terry saying Bourne over. Keystone saying Pharaoh Brown over. I'm assuming it's because he had that long touchdown catch against the Jets last week. Super athletic tight end. When they go into 12 personnel, he can kind of sneak around and get behind the second level. So I could definitely see where you're going with that one, Keystone, because they're definitely, like I said 2 minutes ago, their tight ends are the deep threats on this roster. So you're 100% accurate on that one. Yeah, Kendrick talking about Keystone. Yeah, talking about Bourne beat Diggs last year. I forgot about that play, but yeah, you're definitely right. Jack Meeker saying under. Raphael saying over with Juju in the slot. I see we got my guy Brian joining us. Thank you for tuning in, Brian. He's saying over with Juju also. Keystone saying yeah, especially in the middle. So I'm assuming based off of Raphael, Brian, and Keystone, you guys don't have a lot of faith in Jordan Lewis this week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is it because of Jordan Lewis is in the slot, or is it because you think the scheme is just gonna make it easier for Juju to get open? I'm just curious what your thoughts are. All right, and while I wait for you guys to put your comments up, let's talk about this other matchup. Let's stick with the receiver position, as a matter of fact. So, last week, CeeDee Lamb had his first game under 70 yards. Like I talked about earlier in the show, Christian Gonzalez is reportedly gonna follow him this week. So over under 75 yards receiving for CeeDee Lamb. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Raphael says none whatsoever. Jordan is slow. Terry saying born on some sort of delayed crossing route equals big yardage. I can definitely see that because they're gonna find a way to lull this defense to sleep and get some guy open in the passing game. Charlie saying over. I'm assuming it's on CeeDee Lamb. Keystone saying scheme kills. Arizona called Lewis slipping last week. I remember the hold. Definitely right. I agree with that too. Also, yeah, they did catch him slipping. Mendoza saying over. Jack saying over big time. Looks like everybody's saying over on this one. Keystone, Jeff saying over if we play him in the slot a lot. Oh, he's definitely playing in the slot, Jeff. That's almost a given. He's definitely going to play in the slot. And Terry saying over about 89 yards. And then Brian saying over for Cooks in the revenge game. So yeah, we haven't talked about that a lot. But this is a revenge game with Brandon Cooks versus the New England Patriots. Cooks has not been contributing a lot in this offense the past couple of weeks. I don't think he's gotten over 50 yards yet. I don't have this as one of my over-unders. Oh, yes, I do. Hold on a second. We'll go to our next over-under. Keystone says Cooks needs to kill Jalen. I'm really questioning this offense. 100% agree. So, everything I just said, Brandon Cooks, first game back to New England with the Cowboys. Over under 60 yards receiving for Brandon Cooks. He hasn't hit the 50-yard mark yet this year. Over under 60 yards receiving for Brandon Cooks. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Personally, Keystone saying equal. Jack saying over. Rudd saying over. Raphael saying over. Charlie with the under. Charlie, were you the one that had Lamb way over? No, that was Jack Meeker. But yeah. Jeff says over. Cooks catches a deep bomb. Mendoza says under. All right, so I see we got a mixed bag on that one. Brandon Cooks in his first game back to New England with the Cowboys. Kind of a mixed bag on 60 yards over under. Like I said before, he should have some opportunities. They got the young guy Marcus Jones, who is out on IR this week. He's probably their fastest corner. That's another reason they use their safeties at corner so much. So Brandon Cooks should have some opportunities to beat one of their corners because their safeties play a lot towards the line of scrimmage. So going to be definitely a very interesting matchup to pay attention to. All right, I got kind of thrown off on some of my over under, so I may be repeating a couple of them. The next one is the big one. Been talking about this one a lot. They got the two workhorse running backs in Zeke Elliott and Ramondre Stevenson. A lot of B-gap runs, a lot of draws. When the defense starts to press inside, They will sometimes throw that toss out there just to keep the defense honest and make sure they seal the edges. So you got to look for that also. So over under 120 yards rushing for Zeke and Stevenson combined. Let me know what you guys don't think on this one. And Charlie saying when McCarthy calls a wide receiver screening, maybe they'll take it 60 yards. Raphael saying going under, bounce back game for the run defense. Mendoza saying under. Keystone saying under 100. So we really shut down the running game. And then Charlie the lone wolf on this one with the over. Jeff, let me know what you think about this one. I'm curious of your thoughts. I know me and you kind of go back and forth about Zeke. I personally think he's washed. I know you have a little bit more faith in him than I do. So let me know your thoughts over under 120 yards rushing for the Patriots running back. Terry saying over. Jeff saying push, but Zeke will get the majority of the snaps. Yeah, I think that's almost a given considering who the coach is. But I'll say this. If there's any coach who won't let a guy have a good homecoming, it's Bill Belichick. The same coach who didn't play his best corner in the Super Bowl, and we still don't know the reason why. Just want to throw that one out there. Brian saying over, but I'm hoping under though. Yeah, this one's gonna looks like it's been a mixed bag. Some of you guys feel like they're gonna lean heavily on the run game. A lot of you guys feel like this is gonna be a redemption game for our front seven. All right, I think this is my last over under for the night, and I'm curious what you guys think on this one. I've pretty much given my thoughts on it, so I'm curious to see what you guys think. And my last over under is Tony Pollard. So Tony Pollard's first 3 games, he's had 70 yards, 70 yards, and 120 yards. He's the fifth leading rusher in the NFL. He's number 1 in attempts as of right now. This is a very strong run defense. Over under 60 yards rushing for Tony Pollard. Less than he's had in any game this year. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Over under Tony Pollard, 60 yards. All right. Raphael says over if we run off tackle. Mendoza saying over. Keystone saying over. Rudd has him with 100 yards, but dual threat rushing and receiving. Jack saying over as long as we get some of our O-line back. Charlie, 100% agree with this one. Pollard's averaging 20-yard rushes a game, 21 rushes a game. That does need to be more closer to 15 to 18. I feel like at this point, Rico Dowdle has shown he's more than capable than handling 10 carries a game. I feel like his workload needs to increase from 4 to 10, or do like the Cardinals did, or do like we did week 1. Give Turpin 1 or 2 carries in the backfield to throw him off. Let Deuce Vaughn get 1 or 2 carries. Let Hunter Luepke get 2 or 3 carries. I think he's earned some runs as well, being a dual threat running back / fullback. And Keystone saying Rico needs to build that confidence. Yeah, I've been saying this for 3 years. The only thing that's been holding Rico Dowdle back is injuries. Whenever he plays, he always has been a one step, hit the hole, hard-nosed runner. The problem has been injuries. You got to keep feeding the guy and let him build some confidence, and then you can really feel the legitimate 1-2 punch. Jeff saying give Deuce some love also. Definitely got to work Deuce Vaughn in the game. I mean, I will say this, though, to push back a little bit. It's hard in an NFL game to give 3 or 4 running backs opportunities to carry the ball. The running back position is all about rhythm. You don't want to pull a guy off the field and let him stay on the sideline too long. Let his muscles get tight. Let him get cold. You got to keep the rhythm going. I feel like you definitely got to get Rico in the game and get him more involved. Give him a drive, like we used to do Pollard in year 2 before year 3 he exploded. Or I'm sorry, year 2 before year 3 he started to explode. So give Rico a drive every once in a while. See what he can do. Get Pollard in there, and then sprinkle in 2 or 3 runs for Deuce Vaughn. Keystone saying I need Big Mike, not Kellen McCarthy. 100% agree. We pretty much talked about this. Jeff says the Eagles do it. Well, not since Swift just came on the scene. It looks like everybody's taking a back seat to Swift right now, but they have done it in the past. I will agree on that one. We've all kind of talked about this. There are some opportunities in the passing game this week, and if we get our offensive line back, Mike McCarthy has to take advantage of them, because I would not want to see us get beaten by a team that plays safeties at corner. I want to see those guys get targeted a lot. Our receiver should be able to beat Jalen Smith. Not Jalen Smith. Well, we could beat him too, but Jalen Mills at corner. We did it all the time at Philly. We should definitely be able to beat Jabril Cox if he plays in the slot. And Kyle Duggar, while he's a very good ball hawk safety, he's not supposed to be able to line up against the receiver and be able to hang on. All right, Brian saying Pollard probably right around 60, 70 yards rushing, unless he can get some big breaks. I doubt we see big breaks this week. Like I said, that defensive line is stout. They're going to have a blown assignment for Pollard to get a crease, in my opinion. And that team is very well coached defensively. I doubt it happens. Jeff saying we have to take some deep shots if nothing that backs the defense up. You know what? This is one of those games where I don't see you scaring that defense, though. That's my only concern. Their front seven is stout, and they put a lot on their safeties. They're going to play their game. I don't think we're going to throw them off their game. We just got to execute and make it happen from what they give us. Mendoza saying they have another rookie cornerback in Amir Speed. They're kind of thin at corner. Yeah, they are thin at corner, because I know they have Marcus Jones on IR. I think they have another cornerback that's hurt. And then you got Gonzalez and Speed. And then they have another corner. I can't think of his name, an older corner. Raphael saying spread them out and make their linebackers cover. If I see one of those 250-pound linebackers covering in the slot, I'm going to be rubbing my hands together. Thank you, Mendoza. I forgot about Sean Wade. Sean Wade, the corner safety out of New England. Not out of New England, out of Ohio State. He's their other corner, and they play him all over the field. They try to turn him into a gadget guy. He plays some corner. He plays some safety. He plays a little bit of hybrid linebacker every once in a while, not often. But they try to use him as a chess piece. But that's another guy I don't think can cover from the corner position, and we should be able to easily take advantage of. All right, guys, I think that's pretty much all I have for this week's show. And before we go, I did not hit our question of the week. So let me get you guys' thoughts on this one. We probably talked about this 100 times throughout the show, but I'm curious about what you guys think about this one. And you guys are still talking about the offensive line. I think Pollard can outrun those big linebackers if given an opportunity. I mean, I'm not saying he can't outrun them. My concern is, can our offensive linemen block them? That's my concern. If they can find a crease for Pollard, I think he'll blow them out. The problem is, I don't think our offensive line is good enough to make those creases for him. And Jeff saying perfect time to motion Pollard out of the backfield and see who follows him. 100% agree. It's more than likely going to be one of those safeties if I have to guess. And then if they do, that'll leave somebody in man. this has to be one of those chess piece games where McCarthy gets in his bag and figures out some stuff in the passing game. I see we got Douglas Brooks joining us from the Big Time Show. Another Memphis Cowboys podcaster. What's up, brother? Appreciate you tuning in, joining us for the end of the show. You came right on time because we just got to our question of the week, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on this question. I'm not gonna do the graphic for it, but let me add a caveat in. You can't say offensive line, but which position group helps most in the red zone this week? We have 15 red zone opportunities so far this year, and I believe we converted four out of 15, something like that, something low. It hasn't been happening in the run game. Our tight ends have dropped some touchdowns. The wide receivers are barely getting targeted in the red zone, and they haven't come down with one yet. So, which position group do you think will help most this week in the red zone? Will it be our other tight ends with Schoonmaker and Hendershot? Will it be our other running backs outside of Pollard with Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dowdle, Hunter Lukey? Or will it be our wide receivers with Michael Gallup, who's always been a great 50-50 ball catcher and back shoulder fade catcher, and Brandon Cooks in his first game back, which normally for most teams means that guy's going to get a touchdown. Which position group do you think helps the most this week? Big time. I spent 10 minutes talking about that earlier in the show, especially with this team that the Patriots are bringing out there. This is going to have to be a Dak throw the ball game, and we're going to have to see what he's made of. Charlie going against the rules and saying play call. I agree with you, Charlie, but I was looking for which one of these position groups. Mendoza saying tight ends. Terry saying tight ends. Jack, I agree. If they hold the ball, definitely tight ends. Okay, looks like we have a unanimous decision on this one. Everybody's saying tight ends. So hopefully they can hold on to the ball a little bit more when we get in the red zone and stop dropping key third downs and easy touchdowns. Jeff saying more fades for Gallup. I definitely agree with that one. Raphael saying running backs coming out of the backfield. Like we talked about this week, that'll be more important than ever, considering the size of their linebackers and how much they put on their safeties, that you can stretch them thin by adding another element they have to be aware of with the running back out of the backfield. Keystone saying Bill knows there's no Schultz. He talked about him the last time we played him. Yeah, until one of our tight ends steps up, I agree. They're not going to get the respect that they deserve from us or from the other teams that we play. Mendoza saying running back a close second. I agree with that one also. Big Time says a mixture of Pollard, Rico, Deuce, and Turpin can get it done. And I don't remember who it was. I think it was Terry Rudd says we need to put Hunter Lukey in the game in the red zone as more of a lead blocker. So I definitely like that combination, to put him in front of our running backs, to add another blocker in there. And also just to throw that threat of a pass out there, because he's a great catcher out of the backfield. Terry goes with another alternative, saying tight ends with both setting the edge. I'm assuming you mean 12 personnel for red zone runs and potentially catching a touchdown or two. 100% agree with that one. Our tight ends this year have been extremely good in blocking, especially Jake Ferguson. So I don't want to see them running outside the tackles in the red zone. But if we do, I do feel a little bit better about it, knowing our tight ends are out there blocking. Yeah, bring that 12 and 13 personnel back. This is definitely the game to do it, because they got some big guys up front, and I don't think we can go 5-on-5 with them. And this is the comment right here. we need to go back and look at how they use Moore. Because I said this last week, they love putting Moore and Brown in the backfield. If anything, McCarthy needs to watch that tape and put Turpin in some of those same scenarios. That'll also help in the run game as well as the red zone. Charlie says 27 runs on early downs while losing is a problem. Red zone or not, it makes it harder to get to the red zone. That's why I say play caller. I agree to an extent on that. But to go back to your previous point earlier, Dak's passing has been at 5 yards. The running backs are averaging 5 yards. So unless Dak gets his averages up, running and passing are pretty much on the same level so far earlier in the season. Now, I agree. That should definitely change as the season progresses. But the way it looks right now, if the running backs and the receivers are both getting 5 yards running or catching, it's kind of you can make an argument either way that you're getting the same production. But definitely they should pass the ball more and they should take advantage of the deep threats that we do have. All right. They laughed at Mike for doing Terp like that, Mendoza. Yeah, you're right. And Charlie saying his 8 out of his 5, his passing was over 6, so still more than the rushes. I would like that number to be closer to 8, Charlie, but I get your point. I definitely get your point. The efficiency was higher on pass. I agree with that one also. I just feel like last week's game in particular, if the passing game's not there, the team was playing heavy zone and they were watching the backfield and you were getting 5 yards of carry from all your running backs, it doesn't hurt to keep giving them the ball until they stop it. Or you use that to get that secondary to come up a little bit more to open up the passing game. I know that's old school philosophy thinking, Charlie, and you hate it. Only for last week would I say that game plan could have worked. But at the end of the day, watching that game, there's nothing we could have done to overcome the offensive line, the penalties, and the 200 yards rushing that the Cardinals had. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I got for the show. We're at 1 hour and 18 minutes, so the views are still pretty high. So thank you guys for sticking with us for the entire time. I always appreciate you guys' support. You guys were bringing it with the questions and the comments tonight. I hope we can have 15 more shows just like that. So thank you guys for all of your participation. Like I always say, you guys fuel the Cowboy Zone. So be sure to join us next Wednesday at 7:30 Central Standard Time, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Also, we're going to do our pregame show this week. So join us at 11:15 a.m. Central Standard Time for our pregame show, where we're going to hopefully give you some good news on the injury report. We're also going to get your game predictions, your bowl predictions, and your fantasy favorites for the week 4 matchup. So before I get out of here, I want to let you guys know where you can find me at. And you can find me on City Cowboys, YouTube, Bluff City Cowboys, Twitter at Bluff Cowboys. Again, find us 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Cowboy Zone right here. Also find us at 11:15 a.m. Central Standard Time this Sunday for our pregame show. And before I go again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit those likes, just like Charlie said. Appreciate you guys' support. Like, share. Join us again next week because we're going to have a lot to talk about. Hopefully we get the train back on the tracks and have a lot more positives to talk about with this week's game, because after that, we got another big game coming up against the LA Chargers and Kellen Moore. So a lot to talk about next week. Be sure to join us 8:30 Central Standard Time Wednesday, Cowboy Zone. You guys enjoy your week. And as always, let's go Cowboys. We'll see you. Have a good night.
Thank you for watching the Cowboy Zone.